Hello, hello, hello. I am Valerie Day, and I am your host of the podcast Prayers and Pussy, where we have candid conversations about spirituality and sexuality and everything in between. And I am super duper excited about our guest today, Stephanie Kato. I knew her before I got onto the spiritual path I'm on now, and she was really instrumental in personally helping me as well as introducing me to several great practitioners that we'll talk about. But yeah, so Stephanie is, we had a lovely kind of pre-conversation yesterday, and she is just a woman of deep faith and trust and is on a transition. I met her, she was my colon therapist, and I used to go to her to get colonics. And but she's so much more than that, and she really does metaphysical work, but used colon hydrotherapy and body work to work with her clients. So it's that whole mind body connection that she really embraced during the time I knew her. And as synchronicity would have it, I got a hit the other morning of, oh, I need to reach out to Stephanie, and literally, like, I go to LinkedIn and she's messaged me. So that's how spirit works. And so Stephanie, I just want to, kind of pass the baton to you and have you share with our listeners a little bit about your journey, because you just are on this evolution and letting go and surrender, and kind of just share where you've been from moving to LA to Northern California and letting go of your business, and just give us a little bit of insight into what's up with you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate you. Yeah, I am.
I love you.
I love you too. I'm actually a native LA, born and bred, and so that's where I was. And a couple years ago, I started to think about, what do I want the second half of my life to look like? And I was in conversation with Source, and I was guided actually to kind of close my business. I had been doing body work for about 30 years. And I was so grateful for the work. I was so grateful for all the people that I worked with and learned so much from. But it was time for me to shift personally. So I was guided to close the business and move somewhere. And I decided to move to Sonoma County. And it's been absolutely wonderful. The nature up here is really beautiful, and a little bit of an adjustment because I'm such a city girl. And there's so much nature, and really where I am, there's a lot of farmland, and but it has been absolutely amazing. And I am so grateful that I was brought here and guided here. Yeah, and I'm meeting wonderful people, very like-minded people, and I'm having the time of my life.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really amazing. Well, I feel so grateful. You've been, an instrumental point in my life. I just feel like, we had definitely had a soul agreement, because when I first started my, shout out to my daddy, who's not in this earthly plane anymore. He actually got colonics before I did, and was the person that opened my eyes to getting colonics. And then I had moved from Orange County to LA, and I found Stephanie. And then Stephanie referred me to two amazing people, Dr. Gaucher, who has been, my mystical medicine man for years, and Freda, who did, deep and amazing, body work on me. So, you've just personally supported me. And whenever, I would come and see you, right, as I'm getting emotional thinking about it. Just, you hold such a beautiful space, and you just are kind of the Japanese Mother Teresa, like you just love, you just really, like, you really hold that space of love and compassion and understanding. And just, we hadn't spoken for a long time, and then talking yesterday, I just got to feel, the grandeur of your unconditional love. And I'm inspired by one of the things we were talking about, and maybe you can share with our folks. we were talking about 3D and 5D, and I'm just so inspired how when we first got on, I was like, oh my gosh, you're youthing. So talk to us a little bit about kind of that journey for yourself of going from 3D to 5D and what's been happening with you, energetically, and maybe some of your practices and the journey around that.
Okay, so I was guided to information a few years ago. And so let me just go ahead and share that quickly so that people kind of understand a little bit about where I'm coming from.
Okay, great.
So we are actually, Source created our highest self, and we are a spark of that highest self. And we all signed up to come here to the earth plane to really help humanity. We wanted to have experiences as well, not only for ourselves, but on behalf of Source to provide evolutionary content. It's how Source is able to experience through us. And so what happened is before we incarnated, we decided what we wanted to experience on the planet. And we created what's called a blueprint. And we also knew that we were going to be here with other souls. And so, like a director in a play, we sat down with each soul that we wanted in our life and we gave them certain, roles to play in our life, just like a director in a play, right? And so, a lot of times with family, that's where some of our challenges can be. And
Yes.
yes. And so, especially those that are challenging in our lives, we said, okay, I'm going to need you to show up in this way for me. And when this soul agreed, we created what's called a soul contract. This soul contract was done out of love for me. Now, what happened is when we came down to the planet, we came into what's called 3D consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah, 3D itself, it was a structure during the fall of consciousness to really help humanity from disappearing altogether. So Archangel
Okay.
Metatron created what's called a Metatron cube. It was an actual 3D structure to hold us in place. That has been dismantled because we no longer need it. We as humanity have been able to raise our frequency through love, through the practice of love, such that we don't need it anymore. Now, we still have access to 3D consciousness, but that, in my opinion, is really not where we're going to find the happiness and the peace that we're looking for. Where I like to live actually is in what's called 5D consciousness. And 5D consciousness is the consciousness of unconditional love. And it's how I live my life. So let's say I have somebody in my life that really triggers me, and maybe in a way that doesn't feel good. I have two options here because we really only have two options, fear or love. So I could go into my 3D consciousness and say, oh, you hurt me, you did this, you did that, you're a bad person, I need to protect myself from you and put up all these boundaries and stay away from me. Or I can remind myself, no, this was a soul contract. This person is here out of love for me. And because we are in a reflective holographic matrix, that person is reflecting back to me whatever it is that I need to see about myself. In
Yes.
this way, then, I do not embrace victim mentality, right? Because there is no power or strength in victim. I get to take 100% responsibility for setting this up, for asking this soul to show up in my life this way. And then if I see something that this person is reflecting back, especially if it's something that I don't like about myself or I judge about myself, then I have
Yes.
the option to forgive myself for believing. And usually it always comes down to some belief of unworthiness.
Yes.
I get to forgive myself for believing this because it's not true. I also get to forgive the person who is reflecting this back to me and forgive them for mirroring this in me. And then I offer unconditional love and gratitude that they have showed up out of love for me this way. And this is how I can stay in 5D consciousness, by always finding the gift of love with every person in every situation and every experience.
That's so beautiful. While you were talking about it made me think of the Ho'oponopono prayer, right?
Mm.
When you were talking, right? It's like that, forgiving yourself and forgiving them and remembering and just, yeah. That's so
And
beautiful.
we're not forgiving ourselves because we've done anything wrong or bad, or that we're wrong or bad. We're simply forgiving away a belief. That
Yes.
starts to loosen it up so we can start to release it. And if, let's say, I have a really beautiful practice that I do now, and if there's anything that shows up that causes me emotional pain, then I hold my hands on my heart and I will call in one of my guides, whoever it is that I'm supposed to be working with at that time. It could be Source, it could be Yeshua, it could be, Mother Mary. And I hold my heart and I ask for this to be removed and replaced with peace. I always ask for it to be replaced with peace. That's very, very important. I also ask Source to always place peace in my holographic matrix, because peace will pretty much take care of everything I need. And it's a really wonderful way to live. And it keeps me in
Yeah.
5D consciousness.
Wow. It feels like hearing you talk, it just feels like so simple. But
Right.
when we get into when we're right, if we haven't elevated to 5D, right, and we're dancing between 3 and 5, it gets, I think I'm personally, it's a little chaotic for me right now, right? There's like I'm 3D and 5D. And as you were talking, I was thinking about, recently a challenge that I had with my brother. And definitely, I was in fear, right? I wasn't in love, I was in fear. He announced at Easter dinner that his partner was going to move in, and I was like, well, don't you think you could have asked? I have 2 older brothers. Ask the 2 of us before you made this announcement that your partner's moving into like our family home that like is my retirement, right? It's like, hear me worrying about like this asset, right? I mean, I was totally in fear. Yeah,
And what were you afraid of, may I ask?
Um, that I had a whole litany of story. I had a whole story. Well, that I don't really know. Keith is his partner. I don't know Keith, and is Keith gonna, does he have good intentions, and is he gonna like do something and become a squatter at the house, and we're not gonna be able to evict him if something happens, or are they gonna? I mean, I had a whole story going, Steph. Like, are they gonna go off and get married and take the house? Like, I mean, it was like,
And
and
so, with this fear that showed up, then if they get married or take the house, or this guy does something that could potentially hurt you, does it come down to money? This asset, does it come down to money for you? Is that the bottom line?
yeah, I guess that's the fear was attached to the money piece. Yes, right.
Okay. So this
And
is
then there
where
was
you,
also, but beyond and here there's the fear, right? I'm owning the fear. But then there was also like a feeling of like a lack of like respect, like, wow, like you don't think that you should have talked to us? Like it just kind of bothered me that he didn't consider, like he treated the home like he owns the home and we own it all 3 together. So it sort of felt there was definitely fear and there was disrespect.
mm-hmm. Okay, so the word that you used here was lack, and that goes to the fear around the money is lack, and then the
Right.
lack of respect, and what that comes down to. And our language is really helpful because it can really guide us to go, oh, that's really what it is. It
Yes.
really shows, and it's mirroring this belief of lack within yourself. And I will
Yes.
say, remember that you are part of divine, right? You are part of Source. You are one with Source. Source is not lacking in any way. Therefore, you are not lacking in any way. And again,
Yeah.
because we can choose fear or love, when we choose fear, then this is where we stay in 3D consciousness. Now, what you can do in this instance is say, oh, okay, so I'm going to forgive myself for believing that I am lacking in any way, that I'm
Yes.
deficient in any way. I'm going to
Yes.
offer forgiveness to my brother for mirroring this in me. And I'm going to offer him unconditional love and gratitude because he is fulfilling that soul contract by showing up in your life exactly as you need right now and reflecting this inaccuracy within you. So, can we now do an exercise where we're going to work with this piece of fear, since this is what's come up?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So, I'm going to have you take a breath, and then I'm going to ask you to close your eyes.
Ah.
Okay. And so, I'd like you to complete the sentence: I do not feel that I am blank enough, or I don't have enough blank.
I don't feel that I am good enough, and I don't feel that I have enough time.
And with this statement, where you notice your body lighting up?
I don't know about it lighting up, but I feel my shoulders tense and I kind of feel my belly.
That's exactly it. Shoulders and belly. Okay. So now, when you say that you don't feel like you're good enough and you don't have enough time, does the energy of that feel heavy or does it feel light?
Um, it's kind of neutral. It doesn't feel light and it doesn't feel super heavy. It just
Okay.
kind of feels neutral, which is surprising because my intellectual mind wants to say, well, of course it's heavy.
Yeah. But it's whatever it is for you. And
Right.
so, what about, when you're saying that to yourself, I am not good enough. I don't feel good enough. Does that make you feel good or does it make you feel
No, I
bad?
can feel like the tears want to come when you repeat that back to me, when I let myself feel it.
Yes.
Tears come.
And so
I
when
feel
you're,
vulnerable when I
you
say
feel
it.
vulnerable. And vulnerability in itself is of course wonderful. However, when we feel bad, we have an internal guidance system that says immediately, well, this means that I'm aligning with a lie. There's nothing about you that is unworthy. There never was. There never will be. You are worthy simply because you exist. There's nothing you ever need to do to be worthy. You simply are. So now I'm going to have you say out loud, I am love.
I am love.
And what's happening with your shoulders and your belly with that statement?
My belly definitely feels, you know, softer. Like it feels kind of like light. Um, my shoulders a little less. I think I just need some body work, but it's a little less. Yeah,
It's a little less. Okay.
a little less. I mean, the
And
more we talk about it, it becomes less. I think
yes,
that's just like moving it and letting it move, right?
yes. And does this statement, I am love, feel light or heavy?
I am love. Um, it feels lighter than the other,
Okay.
but it's not like super light or super heavy. It's weird. I feel like I'm in this neutral zone.
That's okay. No worries. That's where you are. It's perfect. And does it feel good or bad? I am love.
I am love. It feels warm
hmm
and soft.
And so this tells you then that you are aligned with the truth. The internal guidance system we have, it's a very quick way to determine where am I at, and it gives us a chance. So if you notice sometime that you're walking around and your belly is kind of doing what it's doing, your shoulders are starting to get tense, then you're like,
Yes.
okay, my body is loving me by reacting this way. So
Oh,
what was I just thinking about a few seconds ago? And then you can start to work with this practice. Okay. So I'm going into fear. And what is that fear telling me? And we can make friends with all of our emotions, right? What is it
yes.
telling me? So this way we could be
Yes.
grateful to have this, yes, instead of fighting it or whatever it is that we sometimes do. But this
Yes.
is a helpful way to know that if I feel good, if I'm happy, if I'm in peace, then I am aligned with the truth. If I do
Yes.
not, if I feel heavy, if I feel bad, if I'm upset, if I'm resentful, if I'm afraid, then I am aligning with the lie.
Right. I could have caught myself before going down the, you know, you asshole, what are you doing path with my brother, right? Right.
Yeah.
Like this could have, right.
But this is
Yes.
why we're here, to be able to experience the more that we stay in present moment. Because right now, in this moment, Valerie, is everything okay? Do you have everything you need right here, right now?
Oh my gosh, I have more than I need.
Yes. And so why you went into fear is because you were going into the future. Oh, what's going to happen? I might not have enough money, but that's not where you live. You live right here, right now. And right here, right now, everything is fine. And remember, correct focusing is so vital because where we focus, this is where our energy goes. This is where we move to. And so we want to
Yes.
ask ourselves, is that where I want to be? Right here, right now, I am fine. And I
Yes.
create from right here, right now. I could do it from 3D consciousness. I could do it from 5D consciousness. Which do I
Yes.
choose?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And the other beautiful thing that came out of this, and in all the years that I've worked with my practitioner, she's never used the word codependent in any of our sessions. And when I had a session with her before I was going to be meeting with, when all of this was happening, when all the mess with my brother was going on, she said, Valerie, you're being called. And Dr. Gaucher gave me this advice a gazillion years ago, like when I first got into recruiting. And she said, Valerie, you're being called to speak your truth and in the codependent pattern in your family. And so by me, like, going into fear, and Wayne and I having this, 3D dance together, we wound up, my older brother being the mediator for my brother and I, and the three of us having a conversation that really was doing what my practitioner said: you need to unwind that codependent pattern within your family. So, on the other side of it, there was a gift that revealed itself that probably wouldn't have if we hadn't have gotten into all this angst.
Yes, right. It's always a gift. And, for me, the goal is to get to the gift of love as quickly as I can. Because otherwise, then I'm jumping out of myself and I'm going into 3D consciousness. And then it's painful to go through all those layers to get there. And then I got to go all those layers to get back.
Right.
So the
Yes.
more I can remind myself, this person in front of me, even though the situation or maybe their behavior is causing me pain, they're actually loving me by showing something within me. Because at the end of the day, it's really about, where am I aligning with source? Where do I get to remember that I partner with source only? And that anything that I look for in the holographic matrix, which does not exist, I will always be disappointed because it's not real. And everything is in the hologram, whether it's partners, whether it's money, whether it's friendship, whatever it is, it's all in the hologram. And so, one
Yes.
of the reasons why I'm able to have so much trust and faith is because I choose to partner with source and know that I am worthy and lovable, and everything I need is brought to me exactly when I need it. We're really trained and conditioned in 3D consciousness that we need to make so much money, right? We have to have all this excess so that we can just not worry about it anymore. And okay, I'm going to be taken care of. But
Right. Yes.
really,
Yes.
right? Right? But really what it is I know that everything is taken care of for me. So whatever I need in the here and now, it'll be brought to me. And that's exactly what happens. And this is
Right.
how we can really choose to live in 5D consciousness and then start to raise our frequency even more.
And you are right, because as I think back over, I haven't had a job with regular income since, January of last year. And I'll share for our listeners the beautiful, correction that you made yesterday, which, I'm just sharing that so our listeners can pay attention to their words as well. That, I said, yeah, I've been like surviving on my Airbnb income. And the truth is, no, like surviving is not the right choice of word. So I invite all of you, because Stephanie invited me, like, hey, maybe you might want to choose a different word. And it's true. While I said it, I even like felt that kind of zing of no, like it was the zing of that's not true. Right. And it's a habit and a
Yeah.
pattern for us to say these things, because that's race consciousness, right? It's race consciousness of, oh, I'm surviving. But the truth is, I'm thriving over here, right? Like I've been given the gift of not working for, over a year and 3 months, a year and 4 months. And that I'm being sourced and supplied by my Airbnb income, a little rental income. But what made me go onto this little story path was when you were saying we have all that we need and that we're taken care of. I'll get like $100 here, $20 there, $85. Like people will just tithe to me because the universe is supplying. So, I need to like, I want to formally acknowledge that, right, for my own self, right, to remember, girl, it's okay. But I'm just, I'm unraveling that race consciousness of not enough, right, which underneath is that lack of worthiness that, you and I have talked about, right? So, it's a great and powerful dialogue to be having, and to have that self-reflection. And then, okay, but I wonder, question I have for you, do you have any tools that you use? I mean, I get and feel that you're just super disciplined in this 5D arena, but as you were going from 3D to 5D, like, were there tools that you used to pull you out of that habitual race consciousness pattern of not enough, or, worry?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I practice self-forgiveness. I was given a book, and so I've been practicing this pretty intensely since 2019, and it's a daily practice. So I do personally choose that consciousness every single day. I wake up in the morning, and the first words out of my mouth is, thank you. I am so grateful. And, going back to when that word came out of your mouth, surviving, this is also something you can be grateful for, because you're like, oh, interesting. Okay. So there is a part of my consciousness that is holding this belief of survival mentality. What do I want to do with that? Well, now I know that I can place my hands on myself. I can bring in a guide, ask this guide to remove this fear of really unworthiness, this belief of lack, and replace it with peace. This is one of the easiest ways that you can start to work with this every day. You can notice, oh, my tummy or my shoulders is starting to get triggered. What's going on with me right now? What am I thinking about? That my body is loving me by showing up with this and letting me know, there may be another way for you. But it's really about, I choose to focus correctly, and I choose to live in the present moment. And any time that my mind starts to, because there are also, it's not just humanity that's on the planet. When we came here, there were other beings that were already here. And there were beings that might not really be for our highest good, that are constantly reiterating, you're not enough, this is a problem, you got to go into fear, because these entities really want to keep us in fear so that they can continue to control. I personally don't want that. I want to control my own mind so that something or somebody else isn't controlling it, right? Because what I believe to be true then creates a feeling, and then that can sit in me. If it sits in me long enough, then the wisdom of my body and the love of my body might start to show up with some illness or dysfunction as a way to say, you might want to take a look at what's sitting in here. And so as I do this beautiful work, then it starts to give me opportunities to let it come up and out of me. And that's really what it's about. There are so many layers in us. It's one of the reasons that I love colon therapy, because for those people that haven't had a colonic before, we introduce pure water into the colon, and the person holds it for as long as they can. And then on the release, the body releases what it no longer needs. But sometimes you might think that you put the water in and it just all comes out in one shot. And it doesn't really work that way. It comes out in layers, right? So some time will pass, something will go, and then nothing, and then another, it'll go. And that's how it is emotionally. There are many layers that we have kept within ourselves to keep safe, because we believe, okay, if I hold on to this, then I'm going to be safe. But really what it is these experiences that we have, these soul contracts that we have, are an opportunity to let this unworthy belief come up and out, so that I can really start to continue to raise my frequency in truth. And that truth is that I am love. We are all love. And in fact, the only thing that is solid and real is love. It is the only thing that is real. And that's why it's so good. It feels so good when we express it, when we feel it, when we choose it, because it is the truth.
Yes. Oh, let's exhale on that one. Oh, I feel compelled to like tap on my heart here. Just let that in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm, yeah, I love. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
wonderful thing is that we're always being given new tools, always. And because things are changing at such a rapid pace, we do need new tools. So there are always beautiful, elevated beings that are coming on the planet to help us. We have so much help. And one of the things that I think maybe people tend to use social media for is a way to feel connected, is a way to feel less alone. And for me, I am instantly able to call in my team of guides at any time to assist me, to help me. And they are pure love. And they always do. And I'll say, I don't know what to do about this. Can you help me with this? Can you please place something in front of me so I can see this very clearly? And they always do. I am never alone. I remember there was a time where the pandemic first started, and I
Mhm.
was feeling very lonely and very isolated, because I wasn't working and
Right.
I was used to constantly moving, and I was just sitting here, right? And I reached out and I asked my angels, I said, I'm feeling so lonely right now. Can you help me? I literally felt angel wings wrap around me. And I thought,
Oh.
oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And that was a very important experience for me to have because at that moment I realized, oh, I'm never alone. And in an
Mm,
instant, they are here. Mhm.
mm.
Always loving me, always guiding
That's
me.
so
So
beautiful. That's
I
so
never have to
beautiful.
figure anything out. If I'm trying to figure something out and I'm trying to do it through my rational mind, I'm not going to get there because the rational mind is tied to 3D consciousness. Whereas my heart, love, and trust is tied to 5D. And that's really where I want to live. It's a matter of choice. We all have free
Yes.
will. We can choose what is there. And believe it or not, you placed your brother and his partner in this experience in front of you. You did that. You chose that because you wanted to have this experience, to have reflected within you this belief of lack so that you can acknowledge it, choose to release it, and have peace replaced instead.
Yeah, I also observed that somewhere along the line, I think that um I had an awareness that sometimes I make things more complicated than they need to be. I'm not sure why I do that.
We all do.
But that
We all do.
that was another like awareness that came as I was going through this. Like, oh, this could have been so much simpler, Valerie. What are you doing? You're making it so hard, right? And it was all of that angst and drama that I created.
And a willingness to be hard on yourself about that. Because so what? You were literally having experience. You don't need to go into any self judgment around that and simply say, oh, I'm so grateful that I had this experience because it really
Hmm.
showed me something that I didn't fully realize. And now I'm aware of it. So I can promise you that the next time an experience of some fear of lack shows up, you're going to be able to see it a lot more quickly. And now you're going to be able to go, oh, okay, I know what to do with this. I don't have to
Right.
go into all of that fear and angst. I can choose to stay in the love. And this is how I can do
Yes. Yes.
it. Mhm.
Yes.
And we all do
Oh,
it. I mean, it's how we've been conditioned on the planet. So it's really important for us to offer us as much self-compassion, loving kindness, gentleness, as you said yesterday, and
yes.
gratitude that we have the courage to walk a certain path of self-awareness. This is not an easy path at all. And I
No.
commend you for it because it takes such courage and strength and bravery. And you are so inspiring by sharing your story. And I thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for showing up and being such a beautiful space holder for my story, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, is there anything else that's coming forth that we should be talking about? I know you mentioned social media. Do you want to share any more about your exiting from that and 3D and 5D and anything else about that? Is that?
You know, for me, it was one of the gifts of COVID is when I noticed that the pandemic was happening. And at the time I was on social media, I was just aware of the fear that was pretty prominent on all platforms. And I decided I didn't want to go into that fear. Source also let me know that the, dark entities that are not here for my highest good have accessibility to me through the internet, through social media. And so I decided I didn't want to participate into that anymore. And so I came off of all social media. What was interesting is that when I went back to work, part of the work that I do as a metaphysical intuitive and channel is that I will take a look at somebody's aura field and I'll see if there are entities within and I will remove them. Well, for months during the pandemic, I was pulling hooks out of people's hearts continuously, almost every person I saw. And I was told about 90% of the planet had hooks in their hearts, and it came through the internet. It came through this way. And that really helped me to say, oh, okay, I see. I really don't want to participate in that anymore and open myself to that, because that's a choice again. And so I was very grateful to be able to have seen that, grateful to be of service, to be able to remove these hooks from people's hearts so they can be free. And that's really why.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh, well, it's kind of feeling like we are at a completion point, but I just want to make sure, is there any questions you have for me or anything you want to else you want to share with our listeners, or
I
anything
just
else
would
that's
love
on your
to,
heart?
acknowledge and honor you and thank you for creating this platform for people to, have more information so that what resonates with them, they're going to be able to take away from. You are really doing so much to help raise the consciousness on the planet and to heal humanity with love. And I just want to tell you that I'm very grateful to you and I love you very much for doing so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, I just love and adore you, and I think about, that both Freda and Dr. Gaucher I met before I got on this, agape science of mind path, and you were at the beginning, you were that seed at the beginning of my journey. And then to have, reconnect all the way, now it's just so precious to me. So you're an inspiration, and share, we'll put it in the show notes, but share your number if anybody would like to book and to tell me what you call your sessions again.
They're basically metaphysical healing sessions. And
There you go.
yeah, so my number is 310-804-6060. I do offer remote sessions for anybody who, if today it resonated with anybody, please feel free to reach out and I'd love to work with you.
Beautiful. Well, I like to end our sessions with prayer. So I'm just going to do a prayer for us.
Thank you.
And then we'll close out. So, just as I exhale into the I am that I am, the I am that we are, I just recognize the beauty and the love and the energy and the consciousness of oneness that is my life, that is the life of Stephanie, that is the life of each person that's hearing this podcast, that is the life of all, that we're all connected in that infinite field of oneness and wholeness and love. And so I just bless each of us with that. So remembering that our call here on this planet is just to be love, to know love, to express love. The love truly is all there is, that love heals, that love reveals, that we are love. And so I just give thanks for the wisdom that has been shared this day through our precious light bearer, Stephanie. And I just know that this podcast goes out into the world and makes the world just a little lighter and brighter, because we've all shown up this day and done our work from a high holy place of love and care and oneness. So I just give thanks for all that has been shared, known, felt, witnessed, experienced this afternoon, just with deep thanks. My heart is full and overflowing. I just release this prayer to the action of the law, knowing it's complete. knowing it's done, saying, and so it is, and so I let it be. Amen, 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 amen.
Thank you.
Oh,
Beautiful.
and so it is.
And so it is.
And if you'd like to book a counseling session with me, you can reach me through my website. It'll be in the show notes, but it's valerieday.com. And if you want a more interactive experience, I lead a meditation call Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Pacific time, and I'll put that in the show notes too. You can just register for that. So peace and blessings, everybody. Thanks for showing up. So much love.
Thank you.